that what we've been warning South Africa about in the last 3 years was the fact that 2011 up to about mid-2012, we are bound to suffer a gap in terms of adequacy of electricity to supply to South Africa. We started the year with a, let's call it a bit of a warning to South Africans to remember the messages we've been conveying to them around the need to use electricity wisely. We've approached most of our key customers because if you want to solve this, is the good old 80-20 principles. You must engage with the largest suppliers so that if they help us reduce demand, then you can secure the rest of the country with reasonably good supply and demand until the Mbele, the first unit of Mbele, comes on stream late 2012. And from about 2013 onwards until 2017, we'll then have 1 unit at a time coming on stream, and hopefully then by 2017 we'll have completed Kusile, which will come on stream in 2018.
I think big questions is commercializing some of Eskom's operations, trying to work with independent power producers, trying to get more private players into the fore. What are you doing to address that?
Well, there's a number of issues that are taking place. Firstly, I think one needs to paint a picture that if you look between now and 2030, for the next 20 years, now 19, Eskom will be a combination, a hybrid of a construction company as well as a traditional electricity utility. The National Electricity Regulator in South Africa, NERSA, issued in 2009 the regulations that govern the introduction of independent power producers. Now, if you look back to what I said about between now and 2030, at the moment we have 41,000 of capacity installed. Between now and 2030 you need a further 50,000. So as South Africa's economy grows, and I'm hoping that colleagues from the various government ministers you would have spoken to would have spoken at length to our national growth plan and the fact that South Africa has to grow. And so that growth is going to be commensurate with doubling the capacity of our electricity in South Africa. And so when that happens, Eskom is going to have to single out the key energy that is going to supply South Africa and leave space for independent power producers to fill some of that gap. So at the moment, for instance, when you look at our profile, we are 85% coal in terms of our energy mix. Between now and 2030, we're looking at reducing that coal dominance to about 49%. We're looking in that period an introduction of an estimated 5,000 megawatts in renewable energy and an estimated 10,000 megawatts in nuclear.
That suggests that you are willing to engage with independent power producers, and certainly that's the core of the framework of the integrated resource plan. But anecdotally, we're told Eskom doesn't want to work with independent power producers. You want to retain a monopoly on price, on provision, on distribution.
Anecdotally, it is, because Eskom doesn't shape the rules. The rules are shaped by the regulator. We've already got 4 core generation power agreements that we've entered into for this year. We're going to add 500 megawatts from large producers who have sold us additional capacity. There's an old independent power producer in South Africa in the form of Kelvin Power Station. They've been supplying us in excess of 200 megawatts since 1996. So there's ample evidence of our willingness to have co-players. I think what has been misunderstood, which we hope is now getting clearer back home, is how do you as an independent power producer get into the fray of being a supplier. But what is true though is that until 2014-2015, in line with the regulators and the Department of Energy's energy pricing policy, it will become much more profitable around 2014-15 and beyond. For if you and I decided to go and set up an independent power producer together, around that framework, that's when we'll start seeing more profitability. At the moment, those that have been able to take advantage of that opportunity are large companies who need their own generation, and out of the surplus that they don't use, they then sell us back.
You're seeing the privatization of certain energy functions in Nigeria, for instance. We're seeing the launching of bonds to raise money for the infrastructure programs for energy in Kenya. And the big issue that people are concerned about is just the general management of utilities in Africa. What lessons can be learned?
Well, there's lots that fellow African utilities can learn. Eskom is the 10th largest utility in the world, and the 9 that are ahead of us are in so-called first world economies. So we've been keeping our ground in the league of first world-class utilities. The key thing for us has been that as I speak to you now, we're pursuing a new strategy which was presented to the board by the executive team led by Brian Damas in October last year. We are going to have a division focused on Southern Africa. It will be a subsidiary of the holding company. We'll also have a division focused on renewable energy, in line with ensuring that what I said earlier about reducing our coal dominance from 85 to 45. The lessons really are one that investment in talent is key. We've been providing support to fellow African utilities in the area of technical maintenance. And what we found is that, let me give you a quick example. We've been running Koeberg, our nuclear power plant, now for more than 2 decades. I always say to the team that if only a lot of our employees spoke French, you'd find lots of them in France. Yeah. Because in the annual rankings of the World Association of Nuclear Operators, we rank 3rd or in the top 3 consecutively. Yeah. So that speaks to the fact that we have managed on African soil to maintain strong standards, high levels of competence, to ensure that we, I guess, keep the South African and the African flag flying.